the second canto. First step in God realization. And that's the last verse today, which is text number 39. And the translation is, one should concentrate his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who alone distributes himself in so many manifestations, just as ordinary persons create thousands of manifestations in dreams. One must concentrate the mind on him, the only all-blissful, absolute truth. Otherwise, one will be misled and will cause his own degradation. So purport, see if we got the purport right? Yeah, we got that right. Okay, so purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this verse, the process of devotional service is indicated by the great Goswami, Srila Sukadev. He tries to impress upon us that instead of diverting our attention to several branches of self-realization, we should concentrate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the supreme object of realization, worship, and devotion. Self-realization is, as it were, offering a fight for eternal life against the material struggle for existence. And therefore, by the illusory grace of the external energy, the yogi or the devotee is faced with many allurements which can entangle a great fighter again in the bondage of material existence. A yogi can attain miraculous success in material achievements, such as anima and lagima, by which one can become more minute than the minutest, or lighter than the lightest. Or in the ordinary sense, one may achieve material benediction in the shape of wealth and women. But one is warned against such allurements, because entanglement again in such illusory pleasure means degradation of the self and further imprisonment in the material world. By this warning, one should follow one's vigilant intelligence only. So this reminds me of that verse where it says that Krishna's smile is very enchanting. This is the smile of Krishna in the material world. When you become attracted to it, what happens? You know, the jaws of death come down and crush and bind the conditioned soul. So next part of the purport. The Supreme Lord is one, and his expansions are various. He is therefore the supersoul of everything. When a man sees anything, he must know that his seeing is secondary, and the Lord's seeing is primary. One cannot see anything without the Lord's having first seen it. That is the instruction of the Vedas and the Upanishads. So whatever we see or do, the supersoul of all acts of seeing or doing is the Lord. This theory of simultaneous oneness and difference between the individual soul and the supersoul is propounded by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the philosophy of Achinta Veda Veda Tattva. The Virat Rupa, or the gigantic feature of the Supreme Lord, includes everything materially manifested. And therefore, the Virat, or gigantic feature of the Lord, is the supersoul of all living and non-living entities. But the Virat Rupa is also the manifestation of Narayan, or Vishnu. And going further on and on, one will eventually see that Lord Krishna is the ultimate supersoul of everything that be. The conclusion is that one should unhesitatingly become a worshipper of Lord Krishna, or, for that matter, his plenary expansion Narayan, and none else. In the Vedic hymns, it is clearly said that, first of all, Narayan cast a glance over matter, and thus there was creation. Before creation, there was neither Brahma nor Shiva, and what to speak of others. Continuing with the purport. Sripad Sankaracharya has definitely accepted this, that Narayan is beyond the material creation and that all others are within the material creation. The whole material creation, therefore, is one with and different from Narayan, simultaneously. And this supports the Achinta Beda Beda Tattva philosophy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Being an emanation from the glancing potency of Narayan, the whole material creation is non-different from him. But because of its effect of his external energy, Bahiranga Maya, and is aloof from the internal potency, Atma Maya, the whole material creation is different from him, and at the same time, it's different from him at the same time. The example given in this verse very nicely is that of the dreaming man. The dreaming man creates many things in his dream, and thus he himself becomes the entangled seer of the dream, and is also affected by the consequences. This material creation is also exactly a dreamlike creation of the Lord. But he, being the transcendental supersoul, is neither entangled nor affected by the reactions of such a dreamlike creation. He's always in his transcendental position. But essentially, he is everything and nothing is apart from him. As a part of him, one should therefore concentrate on him only without deviation. Otherwise, one is sure to be overcome by the potencies of the material creation, one after another. So it's very interesting how it's showing us how Krishna is everything, and how we can't even see without Krishna first seeing it. Or we don't even know anything without Krishna first telling us. We may see something in front of us and we say, oh, this is a computer. I'm looking at my computer. But how do we know that? It's actually Krishna is so fast that he's telling us that that's what that is. And also in the Bhagavatam, it explains to us how everything is provided for us. The sight and what you're seeing, the scene, the activity, the energy to do that, everything's provided by Krishna. So everything is Krishna. And it's like a dream. See, there's this one section here. It's like we're in a dream. We're actually in Krishna's dream. And Krishna enters his own dream, and he's trying to help us get out of this dream. Go back to the spiritual world, which is actually Krishna's emanation also. He expands himself there. And then that's eternally there. So let's go to the last part of the purport. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9.7 as follows. Sarva bhutani kunteya prakritim yanti mahamikam kalpakshaye punastani kalpado vishvajami aham. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, every material manifestation enters into my nature. And at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I again create. So there it is, the proof. Krishna's everything. Everything comes from him. Everything enters into him. So here's the last sentence, which is very important. Srila Prabhupada's purport here. The human life, however, is an opportunity to get out of this repetition of creation and annihilation. It is a means whereby one may escape the great escape. He may escape the Lord's external potency and enter into his internal potency. Read that one more time. The human life, however, is an opportunity to get out of this repetition of creation and annihilation. It is a means whereby one may escape the Lord's external potency and enter into his internal potency. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the second canto, first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The First Step in God Realization. So, let's read the verse again. Let's see if I still have it here. One should concentrate his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who alone distributes himself in so many manifestations, such as ordinary persons create thousands of manifestations in dreams. One must concentrate the mind on him, the only all-blissful absolute truth. Otherwise, one will be misled and will cause his own degradation. So we're warned. Jai Om Jnana Tamanandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshus Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Upakadamayam Dudanti Swavadantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vanchakalpa Tribhischa Kripa Sindhu Vivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So thank you for all for attending the Srimad Bhagavatam class on this most auspicious day of Ekadasi and the recitation of the Bhagavad Gita. So there's no way you can separate the Srimad Bhagavatam from the Bhagavad Gita. It's the same message, just expanded. But I highlighted this end of the purport here, and it's very interesting because Prabhupada ended this chapter with this particular quote, that our human life is a very great opportunity that we could get out of this prison. We can actually make a great escape from this external potency into Krishna's internal potency. And this is interesting because in the Bhagavad Gita, if we go there to the last verse of the Bhagavad Gita, Yatra Yogeshvaraha Krishna Yatra Partho Dhanurdaraha Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. So we're in association with Krishna. So why did I choose this particular verse to link this to the Srimad Bhagavatam? Because in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains here, very similar in the whole Bhagavad Gita, it goes through Krishna's different manifestations, his universal form, different forms of worship, meditation, all that. So here, I'll just read the last few paragraphs of that purport of the last verse of the Bhagavad Gita. So it's described here. Another feature of the Bhagavad Gita is that the actual truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. The absolute truth is realized in three features: impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and ultimately the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Perfect knowledge of the absolute truth means perfect knowledge of Krishna. If one understands Krishna, then all the departments of knowledge are part and parcel of that understanding. Krishna is transcendental, for he is always situated in his eternal internal potency. The living entities are manifested of his energy and are divided into two classes: eternally conditioned and eternally liberated. Such living entities are innumerable, and they are considered fundamental parts of Krishna. Material energy is manifested into 24 divisions. The creation is effected by eternal time, and it is created and dissolved by external energy. This manifestation of the cosmic world repeatedly becomes visible and invisible. So just repeating what we just said here. So this is the next paragraph. In Bhagavad Gita, 5 principal subject matters have been discussed: the Supreme Personality of Godhead, material nature, the living entities, eternal time, and all kinds of activities. All is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. All conceptions of the Absolute Truth, impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and any other transcendental conception exist within the category of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although superficially, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity, material nature, and time appear to be different, nothing is different from the Supreme. But the Supreme is always different from everything. Excuse me. Lord Chaitanya's philosophy is that of inconceivable oneness and difference. This system of philosophy constitutes perfect knowledge of the Absolute Truth. So here again, Prabhupada's bringing up this point of the Achinta Veda Veda Tattva philosophy by Lord Chaitanya. So here's the last paragraph of the last verse of the Bhagavad Gita. The living entity in his original position is pure spirit. He is just like an atomic particle of the Supreme Spirit. Thus, Lord Krishna may be compared to the sun and the living entities to sunshine. Because the living entities are the marginal energy of Krishna, they have a tendency to be in contact either with the material energy or with the spiritual energy. In other words, the living entity is situated between the two energies of the Lord. And because he belongs to the superior energy of the Lord, he has a particle of independence. So here's the last sentence. I shoot a Prabhupada and compare this to the last sentence that we read to today's verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. By proper use of that independence, he comes under the direct order of Krishna. Thus he attains his normal condition in the pleasure-giving potency. So just see, this is what Prabhupada wants us to actually use our intelligence, our independence, and to come under the direct order of Krishna. And thus we'll attain our normal condition in the pleasure-giving potency. What's that normal condition? That's free. This is the great escape. We want to escape this material condition, this bondage, this suffering, this illusion, this dream, and enter into Krishna's pleasure-giving potency. That's Krishna's Hladini, his Hladini potency. That's a spiritual potency with the association with Radha and Krishna in the pastimes. This is what Prabhupada wants. So this is the whole purpose of the Bhagavad Gita, the whole purpose of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we're very fortunate today that today is that day that Krishna narrated the Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita, these are the main nutshell verses. I think it'll be okay to read these today, give us an idea of what the essence of the Bhagavad Gita is. This is from the 10th chapter, text 8 to 11. I am the source of all spiritual material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. It seems like we're reading everywhere. It's always something like this. It's expanded with these same verses. It's like everywhere. The whole philosophy of Krishna consciousness is based on these. Text 9. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So this is how the devotees, they use their intelligence by always thinking of Krishna and engaging in his service and helping each other get out of this bondage, helping each other make this great escape. Text 10. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they come to me. So this is how you get that intelligence. This is how you get the understanding, is by constantly being devoted and serving Krishna with love. Text number 11. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So this is where we are. This is ignorance. Due to this darkness of ignorance, we perform so many abominable, sinful activities, and this is what binds us and covers us in this material world. But Krishna, we have to beg him for his mercy, and if we cry out for mercy, he will hear us and he will help us. Prabhupada said one can become Krishna conscious simply by desiring. If we have that desire, Krishna will help us. He's in our hearts. He's everywhere, as we've understood. He's everywhere, and he will help us. So this is interesting on this actual day of the Gita Jayanti. This is from the Lamrita in Indore in 1970. Srila Prabhupada and his disciples, I guess, were going to India for the first time, and they're very enamored by, the whole India, and they had this special, a special pandal program or something they had, and they invited Prabhupada and the devotees to come and speak. So this is what Prabhupada was noticing, his observation there with his so-called Gita Bhavan. So when Prabhupada finally spoke, he began by explaining that in the West he was spreading the teachings of the Gita as it is. Bhagavad Gita, he said, could be properly understood only in disciplic succession, just as Arjuna, the original student of Bhagavad Gita, had understood it. The Gita was for the devotee of Krishna and should not be misinterpreted by non-devotees. To misinterpret the Gita, he said, was to cheat in the name of religion. He also spoke strongly against pseudo-incarnations, because he was aware of what was going on and what type of people were there. So Prabhupada says, at the same time, but I'm just picking out different quotes. What kind of glorification of the Gita was this if the speakers did not accept Krishna as he is explained in the Gita? The Gita declares Krishna to be the highest truth. Mata parantaram nanyat. Prabhupada advised the directors of the Gita Bhavan to try to understand the meaning of Bhagavad Gita. So they were saying, oh yeah, we don't really accept any particular philosophy. We accept them all. They were just like, yeah. But still, I don't think they quite understood Prabhupada. So here's Prabhupada's another quote. He said, they're thinking that there's something beyond Krishna, or that it is the spirit within Krishna that we have to surrender to. But they do not know that within and without of Krishna are the absolute eternal and full of bliss. So here's Prabhupada. He's like our general. He's our commander. He's our protector, and he's our guide. And at this particular event, this is proven here again in this last paragraph, that during this kirtan, some of the members of the Gita Bhavan were gesturing devotees to jump down into the crowd just as they had done the previous night. But it's not, that was spontaneous, but they tried to artificially force the devotees to come down, to simply become crowd pleasers. So there was a man, he was insistent, and came forward at the edge of the stage, and he started reaching up and began grabbing at the feet of the devotees who were dancing, trying to pull them into the audience. And the devotees became annoyed, and they were grabbing indiscriminately, and one man started to pull at one of the Mataji's saris, and Prabhupada was dancing there too, and he saw this, and he rushed to the edge of the stage, and that's where he started swinging his car towels towards the man's face and shouting, "Stop this!" And then the man retreated. So Prabhupada and the disciples, they continued the kirtan. And so hardly anyone noticed that, but Prabhupada, this is his lion-like ferocity that amazed his disciples. So Prabhupada is like a lion. He's actually given us the prior teachings of the Bhagavatam. And he's the powerful person that's helping us, attain this great escape from this material world. So we have such a fearless, powerful commander and general Lord Chaitanya, who is Srila Prabhupada. So let's go on. We promised some special nectar here. So what we're going to do is we can have a summary of Bhagavad Gita, but what we can do now is just have a visual summary of Bhagavad Gita. So I try to put together all the pictures illustrating Bhagavad Gita, like some that were not in the Bhagavad Gita but relate. And I did not get all the pictures that were in the Bhagavad Gitas, throughout the different publications, but most of them didn't have time to really get it all together. But we'll see how it goes. So here's Srila Prabhupada. He's our commander, and this is what his whole mission was: is to distribute books. This is the ad I made for we have a little souvenir booklet that we put out every year, and this is just an ad for the BBT. This kind of shows how, the idea of Srila Prabhupada's spiritual masters there, how it's a disciplic succession, how that's his mission. He was to distribute, publish books, distribute books. This is so to give people the knowledge, the strength to actually escape this material world. So here's Srila Prabhupada. He's not only very powerful, but very blissful and loving with his disciples and practically everybody, giving his mercy. And as we know, this is a disciplic succession. So this is Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master. He was the foremost scholar and devotee in this recent age. This is how Bhagavad Gita begins, with the disciplic succession. And here's his spiritual master, Gaudacandra Das Babaji Maharaj. And he was an intimate student of Srila Thakur Bhakti Vinod. And then here it is, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. He is the pioneer of the program to benedict the entire world with Krishna consciousness. So here's Srila Prabhupada. He is preaching this message of the Bhagavad Gita, as this nice painting describes, amongst his disciples, actually bringing the vision of Krishna and Arjuna, and a vision to how we can actually be saved and free from this material bondage. So here Dhritarashtra inquires from Sanjaya about the events of the battle. What did they do? What did my sons and the sons of Pandu do? So he has this transcendental vision. He can actually see what's going on in the battlefield, in his heart. And because Dhritarashtra is blind, he has no material vision, but also it's described he didn't have any spiritual vision. He was blind that way, so he was very much influenced by his demoniac children, and he gave way to them. So here's Sanjaya enlightening him about what happened in the Bhagavad Gita. So here you have, there's Duryodhana saying, "Oh, my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu. Just see how expertly they're arranged in this battlefield." And he's explaining how, we have to become careful, and we have to, carefully protect Bhishma and all this. So he's describing like that. Just to bring the importance of the battle, that we shouldn't be lax in this battle. Here's a great general, actually. So here's, again, he's approaching him and asking him, So Krishna and Arjuna are in the midst of the battlefield here. They went right in the middle between the two armies. And just a few pictures here to show how they're entering. Can you imagine how many people are there? Millions and millions of people died. It was in 18 days. So many people lost their lives. So Krishna says, "Look, behold all the armies." And Krishna goes, "Drive my chariot between them. I want to see who's here, who I want to fight with." And this is when they blew their conch shells. And it created fear in the hearts of the enemy. But Krishna, after seeing all these particular, I think he blew the conch shell. At first, I guess it shows them in the way they had the pictures arranged in some of the books that showed the conch shell blowing first. But here, he becomes overwhelmed. He saw all kinds of different grades of his friends, his relatives, and it just became overwhelmed with grief and compassion. He didn't want to kill them. How can I kill my teacher, my brothers, and family members? Like Krishna is always blissful, smiling. So Krishna begins to enlighten him, explaining to him, this whole Bhagavad Gita right before the battle. He began to enlighten Arjuna. So there's many topics discussed in the Bhagavad Gita, even the insulting of Draupadi, and how this actually began. Prabhupada describes in his purports, because of this, there had to be a war. Explain to him, they've insulted, your wife. Just because of the disrespect for women, this whole war had to be fought. And there he is showing his thigh, and there's Bhishma just not even doing anything. It's all Krishna's plan. He wanted this to happen. So here, Krishna's explaining to Arjuna, the wise, they don't lament for the living or the dead. In fact, he's actually chastising Arjuna. What is this? Lamenting for the living or the dead. You're not an Aryan, that's not the Aryan. And he begins to explain to him how, they're actually not their bodies. The soul changes bodies, just as a person changes his garments. From birth, death, birth to old age, to death, all this happens. And there's some different photos here, paintings of different, explaining that. The cycle of reincarnation, not only from the human form, but also in the animal forms. But yet the soul, you can see it never changes. From babyhood to youth to old age, the soul is transmigrating. It's actually being reincarnated in this life, but we don't notice it. And so death is just get another body. So here it's described how the body changes, but the soul, it never changes. It's like a film, we see It appears to be moving, but it's the same. Like that. So Krishna also explains how the living entity, they're seated on a tree of the body. And the super soul is there as the other bird is a witness. And is witnessing all the activities of the conditioned soul. Here the bird is trying to enjoy the fruits of this material energy. And Krishna is just witnessing and providing, and everything is telling him. It's guiding him. Everything is right there next to him, and it's telling him what that is. Oh, there's a piece of fruit, get it. And he says, and he notices, and he says, oh, I saw a piece of fruit. He doesn't realize that Krishna actually saw it first and explained to him that it was there in any species, all the animals. That's the intelligence, it's the super soul of Krishna. So he explains how, while contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them. See, from such attachment, lust develops, and from lust, greed, and then from greed, anger, and illusion. Intelligence is lost, and it falls down into the material pool. So Krishna is explaining so much philosophy to Arjuna. But it also talks about the different types of sacrifice that we perform. And he tells him, just be happy by the sacrifice, because it's by its performance, it'll bestow upon you all desirable things. So this is the sacrifice that we perform in this age, is the Harinam Sankirtan Yajna that we perform. And if we perform the sacrifice, then, to Lord Chaitanya, most people just see the cropped picture of this, but on top there's like this big, because it's so long, they cut off this picture on top of the temple there. So I thought I showed the whole picture. And by performing the sacrifice, then all demigods will be satisfied, and will supply all our needs. Just by performing this kirtan, you please the demigod, you please everyone. And Krishna begins to explain how the living entity is covered by all these different degrees of lust. Just as the mirror is covered by dust, fire is covered by smoke, by the embryo, the living entity is covered by the embryo in the womb. And here he explained how this knowledge was first instructed to the sun god Vivishvana. This imperishable science was given. This Bhakti Yoga, the science of the Bhagavad Gita, was given to Vivishvana, the sun god, who imparted it to his son. And it was handed down through disciplic succession. So this is the proper way of receiving this knowledge. Not by these speculators and these Gita Bhavans and things like that. So all the different incarnations of Krishna, how Krishna descends whenever there's a decline in religious principles. He appears again and again. So here we see the main 10 incarnations of Krishna. And there's another version of that. And still another version of that. Different devotees have made different versions. So we're very fortunate to have these descriptions. Like I said, these are like windows into the spiritual world. So in order to deliver the pious and the impious, to deliver the pious, and to annihilate the miscreants. So this Krishna comes, this is Kamsa. Krishna and Balaram came to kill the demons. Just ripped him out of his throne and started to beat him to a pulp. There's another rendition. I was dragging him to show him all the people, right? Yeah, he's dead, yay! Demons are killed. So this is why Krishna comes, to kill these miscreants, annihilate them. And Krishna talks about how, as you surrender to me, I reward you accordingly. So there's a devotee, surrendering in a particular way, doing devotional service. There's the yogis, there's the mystics, and there's the fruit workers, counting his gold. So Krishna rewards accordingly as you surrender. So we could see if we really surrender, we'll actually escape this and go back into the spiritual world. Krishna's having his Vladini Shakti potency there, and with his, intimate pastimes with his loving devotees. That's what we want. That's what we want to escape to. So, I talked about the different modes of nature, foods and different modes of nature. Whatever path you apply yourself in, that's what you'll achieve. Attain these. So this shows the different demigods. Saraswati for learning, Sun God for strength. You can, if you want material sense gratification, these things are there. But Krishna supplies everything. Then he talks about how the humble sage, he sees with equal vision, whether it's a dog eater, a cow, an elephant. He sees with equal vision. There's another description of that. Seeing with equal vision, seeing Krishna and everything. The super soul is everywhere. And this is the humble sage. He sees that way. So this is how he meditates. He meditates on Krishna within. Is within the heart. And we should make him the ultimate goal of our life. This is an example of meditation of the yogis. This is not so much our process now, this day and age, but to get the point, this is our meditation. We are actually mystic yogis. The yoga we're performing today is just as good and powerful as this yoga that was performed in previous ages. So we should engage ourselves in the practice of yoga with this undeviating determination and faith. And if we do that, then Krishna will see that endeavor and he'll help us. He'll send his devotees like Garuda to help us. A sparrow trying to get his eggs back from the ocean, it's like a ridiculous proposal. But if you get some help from someone like Garuda who can lift the Mandara mountain, who lifts Vishnu, which is a very powerful devotee of Krishna, if he takes up the task, then he will help you. So this is Garuda there threatening the ocean. Give her back her eggs or I'll drain you myself. And he can. Very powerful personality. So Krishna talks about the mind. Well, it's very restless, it's turbulent, it's obstinate, and it's very strong. And he talks about the five senses. We got this sense of sight, smell, hearing, touching, and tasting. And they're very powerful, the senses. They're like horses. But we should use the reins of the mind to bring them together and have the control of them with the intelligence. And you can see, these are Krishna's mature energies. We have nothing to do with them. We're just the soul sitting in the chariot, just observing and experiencing this happiness and distress of the material world, simply by our desire. This is it, our desire. Everything rests on your desire. This is how powerful desire is. And Krishna that's what he does. He fulfills our desires. But if we, abide Krishna's great faith, that's the highest yogi. He's the highest yogi. He has great faith in Krishna. That's his meditation. That's his goal, is Krishna. Otherwise, we're here covered in Krishna's material energy. Krishna is the source of all material and spiritual energies. You can see the different energies: fire, air, ether, earth, water, all these things. Krishna is the source of everything. And there's 4 kinds of people who surrender to Krishna. And there's 4 kinds of people that don't surrender to Krishna. And it's described in the Bhagavad Gita. Those who are after knowledge, some of those who are atheistic demons, it's all described. So it shows what type of person we need to be in order to surrender to Krishna, and what type of person not to be. So I'm just kind of going through this quickly to give you an idea. We have quite a few pictures here. Feast for the eyes. So, this is what happens to those who surrender to Krishna. We end up with Krishna. When you go there, and you don't come back. It's a supreme abode of Krishna. Even though Krishna may descend, it's described that fools will deride him when he descends in the human form. But they don't actually see Krishna. There's the fools on the left deriding Krishna. But the devotee, he knows, he surrenders to Krishna. And he knows it's the source of everything. This is Krishna. So Krishna's here, asking, and he knows Krishna is saying, you're the Supreme Brahman, you're the ultimate, you're the Supreme, you're the abode, you're the purifier. And he realizes that, and he's asking Krishna to show him his universal form. And Krishna shows him everything. He says, but know that all the beautiful and glorious and mighty creations spring but a spark of my splendor. And it shows how Krishna is the most powerful things in nature. There's the shark, there's the lion. This is how you see Krishna everywhere. And this shows Arjuna his universal form. He sees many mouths, many heads. Krishna. And then at last he's asking Krishna, please show me your four-armed form. Then at last he shows him his two-armed form. He's much more, he loves this form. The other form is fearful, the universal form. So this Krishna, he delivers his unalloyed devotees from this ocean of birth and death. Here's Krishna riding on Garuda, and this is a great ocean that we have to try to escape from. It's impossible to escape from this ocean. But if we get help from great devotees of Krishna, we can actually escape it. Here's another nice rendition of that painting. It's amazing. So here it shows the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance, and the different activities that take place. It's all described in the Bhagavad Gita. What the activities are in these particular modes of nature. And if you act in these activities, even if you're in the human form, you will attain that particular activity. You may come down to an animal form. Because it's very binding in the material world. It's like a banyan tree. It's got its roots upward and its branches down. And you can see there's so many branches of the Veda, which is all meant for external. There's sense objects, there's economic development, religiosity, all these things. But we have to transcend this. And see how it says that we're right about the law of desire. So Krishna is like a desire tree, and we also desire. But we can create this binding desire tree, of the banyan tree, which you can't tell which way is up or down. And become implicated and bound. But we must cut through that with the weapon of knowledge. So here's the spiritual and material worlds. Krishna expands himself into the material worlds, and then he enters into that. And here Krishna is also in the spiritual world. That's where we want to go. Into the spiritual world, beyond the material energy, and enjoy these pastimes with Krishna. But here in the material world, the living entity, he carries different conceptions of life, just as the air carries aromas. And these conceptions will bind you and create another body. The soul is pure by nature, but it carries all these different conceptions. And one ends up with different forms and different bodies like this. But we ultimately want to have the conception as we're a servant of Krishna and enter into the pastimes of Krishna. So here you are. People with different conceptions, the different modes of nature, goodness, foods in the mode of goodness, passion and ignorance. And how we become bewildered by this false ego, pride, lust, and anger. This is what it leads us to. But if you see it the other way, if we actually accept a spiritual master, which is the beginning, We study the Vedas, austerity, sense control, we get the spiritual knowledge and how to get out of this bondage. Here again, we're different modes, activities, and lower modes of nature which cause bondage, where one may actually end up in a cell. In the mature world, it's like a cell. Work in the different modes of nature. Here's another rendition of the one. Bewildered by false ego. There's lust, greed, and anger. These are the three gates that lead to hell. Lust, greed, and anger. So here's a different, shows a nice picture of the 5 factors of actor. The place of action, the performer, the senses, the endeavor, and ultimately the super soul. And whatever we do, this is the 5 factors of action as described in the Bhagavad Gita. And here, by worshiping the Lord, performing our own duty, whatever it is, we may be a Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmana, but if we perform our duty, we can become perfect. All we have to do is think of Krishna, become his devotee, worship him, offer homage unto him, and then surely we will go to him. So this is the Bhagavad Gita. So this is kind of a little quick summary, visual summary of the Bhagavad Gita. I have a few more pictures here to just kind of describe the devotees performing devotional service, how it was handed down through the cyclic succession, from Krishna to the sun god. Some of these are a little bit out of place because there's so many here. And here's the speculators, they can't understand Krishna. They look at this book, how can they understand it? Some more devotional service, Krishna and Arjuna, the devotees going out, spreading the holy names. One shows compassion. Here we see the result of being bound by Krishna's jaws, being attracted to this glare of Krishna, this smile in the mature world. There's also some more different activities in the modes of nature. How you may get things, benedictions from the demigods, but actually they're temporary. It shows death there, it's temporary. You may get some learning, but it's temporary. You may get some health, it's temporary. You may get so many things, but still you're going to die. It's a mature body. So here again it shows the 4 kinds of people that surrender to Krishna and the 4 kinds of people that don't surrender to Krishna. Here's a result of his activities in the mature world. And karma is discussed. Bhagavad Gita. Here again, foods in the modes of nature, the results of them. Eating meat, you become a tiger. And also you like to sleep a lot, you become a bear. And here's the modes of nature at work. They're like strings that bind us. Actually, we're not doing anything but desiring. And here we had a fire sacrifice here in LA. We actually celebrated this on Sunday, this appearance of Bhagavad Gita. So we had a nice sacrifice where we chanted the entire Bhagavad Gita. And then after each mantra, each verse, we swaha, we put grains in the fire. So that was a sacrifice we performed, and Gaudacandra Prabhu, he narrated the entire Bhagavad Gita, which was amazing. It's very nice. So that was that. That's it. I did have a little video, but for some reason I didn't get time to put it on here. But it showed a nice picture of some flames coming out. So if I didn't lose you, if everyone is still there, if there's any comments or questions, maybe we can open it up for discussion.
How long is the video?
It's about a minute or 2.
And we don't have time? You gotta be kidding me.
Well, I didn't have time to put it on to the thing. Let me see if I could get it for you guys, if it's possible. I could just go to I actually put it on my Facebook. And let me see here. I just share the desktop. And if I could show you guys real quick, it might be kind of cool. And it's probably not going to be the best quality because it's in my Facebook account. Let's see here. Where's Facebook?
Gaudacandra, is it possible to get a copy of that slideshow you just gave?
Sure, I think Ramananda's recorded it. But otherwise, I could probably send you something.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's a lot of pictures, a lot of things. So,
I'd like a copy too.
Sure. So let me see if we could find it here. Get to my thing here. Where is it at? Home. Okay, sorry here. It wasn't. I don't have my thing synchronized properly, so let's see if we could find it on here. Let me show it to you guys real quick. Can you see? Yeah, can you see this?
Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
On Facebook? Okay, so I'm trying to find it here. I don't know. I don't use Facebook that much, but how do you get the things that you posted right away? I'm trying to find it, but there's so many things. See, that by the time you put something up, there's about 50 more things.
Yeah.
50, 100 more things, but
You know, one of many of those paintings I've never seen before.
yeah, and
or even the ones that I'm familiar with, I didn't know they were cropped. So, you know,
yeah,
like
a lot of them, maybe even some of the ones I put in here today, I cropped them just to show you the main thing, because a lot of them, they did a lot of sky and things like that, you know.
Gaudacandra?
Yes.
Yeah, if you want to quickly find what you posted on your Facebook, click on your name at the top.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. I don't know how to use this thing so much. There it is. Here, we'll show the video. Let's see if it looks good.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. What is your Facebook name?
Can you hear that? See it?
Yes.
You're launching it now.
You can? Okay.
Hare Rama,
This is how we do it with every verse.
Rama, 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 Hare, Hare, Rama.
Goda, how long did that yajna take to do the whole Bhagavad Gita?
12 to 4. 4 hours.
Wow.
So,
4 hours. That's amazing. Really?
yeah. After every time we chant each verse, we do the swaha just like that. And people, sat through the whole thing.
So would people sit there and repeat the verse? People
Yeah,
knew
everybody
the
chanted the
by
verse.
heart?
Yeah, we all chanted the verses together. We've been doing this every year, and it's pretty far out. It's really nice. And then we have like cases and cases of Bhagavad Gitas for devotees to take and distribute for World Enlightenment Day. And then if they can't distribute them, they sponsor the Gitas. And then the devotees.
How many years are you doing this already?
Oh, geez, it's been since I've been here, I think.
Wow.
Since 96.
Wow.
Must have taken a lot of wood to stoke that fire for 4 hours.
Yeah, it takes a few, not too much, but anyway, I shared that on Facebook. I was trying to get the nice full quality of the video to show you. I just did that on my iPhone, and it has like a slow motion thing. That's why it looked like slow motion. It looked kind of cool with the flames on there.
Go to the that PowerPoint that you did was just wonderful. I was just totally glued to my computer. Sometimes while I'm listening to class, I'm with my iPhone, so I go around and I'm feeding the fish and feeding the parrots and listening. But I couldn't get anything done this morning. I couldn't leave my computer. You did the whole Bhagavad Gita that was amazing. I've never done these types of presentations, and I was thinking, there's been times when I get invited to speak in a college, and it's a class on Bhagavad Gita, and I'm thinking, gosh, if I ever knew well, it'll happen again for sure, well, Krishna willing, next time I go to a class in Bhagavad Gita, this is definitely what I want to do, is present it just like you did it. It's so powerful. Gosh, right from the beginning, you took it right to the beginning with Sanjaya, and it was amazing. It was really powerful. I got a tremendous amount out of it. It was wonderful. I want to ask you a question, and I'm sure there's probably a lot of different opinions on this, but something that's always on my mind when I give out Bhagavad Gitas, which I do often, as does Raghava, with the weddings that we perform. It's one of the favorite things to give. Now, listen carefully. Give me your take on this, because I really have ambivalent feelings. Sometime back, I guess when I first started giving out a lot of Bhagavad Gitas, I used to tell the people to start at around page 40, a little bit into the second chapter, because the beginning has so much litany and names and so on. I don't want them to become discouraged with the first part of the Bhagavad Gita before it really starts getting to the nectar about how we're not the body and the soul's transmigrating in karma. I was worried that people would get sidetracked or just discouraged, and it may seem a little too, gosh, I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages to read, and I'm afraid they won't keep going. So what I did was I started to tell them, I'd circle, I think it was like page 40, and I'd just tell them, go ahead and start here, and then later, after you've read it, you can go back and read the first part. Then I started feeling guilty about that and thinking, well, that's, God, Krishna spoke this Bhagavad Gita. Who am I to tell anybody, don't read the first skip? I mean, Krishna is the author of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna certainly knew what he was doing when he was narrating the Bhagavad Gita. So what an arrogant fool I must be to tell someone, don't read the first part. I'm instructing, start on page 40. So I did that for a long time. Then recently, Mother Irmala was here. She gave someone a Bhagavad Gita, and I was very surprised. She instructed them, don't read the first chapter. She instructed them also to go a little bit into the second chapter. So kind of following her lead, I started doing that again, and I've been doing that now, well, for, gosh, I don't know how it's been, maybe 6 months or something since she was here with us last. So I really have ambivalent feelings. I really struggle with that. I struggle either way. If I tell somebody, just go ahead and start reading the Bhagavad Gita reading from beginning to end, I'm worried about the first part. And then I also feel terrible if I tell them not to read that first part, start at page 40. I wonder what your thoughts are, and maybe some other devotees could help me with that, because I really struggle with it, and I'm confused. So as Arjuna said, Karpanya dosho pahata savavavich pramitam dharma samudacheta yachchayan sanichchitam bruhitam me shishastiham sharimantam prapanam. I've lost composure due to majorly weakness. I'm confused about my duty. I'm surrendering to you, Gaudacandra. Please instruct me.
Okay. Anyway, I had a few thoughts to that. I've never really told people to do that myself personally. And what I thought of immediately was that we have a lot of small introductory books, like there's a book, Introduction to Bhagavad Gita. We're actually low stock right now, I think, at the BBT, but we had that. There's books based on Bhagavad Gita, like Beyond Birth and Death and Perfection of Yoga, things like that. They're good introductory books to give people if you don't want to give them an entire Bhagavad Gita, or to have them start with that book. Or otherwise, the introduction is pretty amazing, so we've made a separate book on that. But also it reminded me of no matter where you start the Bhagavad Gita, it's nectar. There's a story that I could share with you that my personal experience with personality. I was coming home from Govinda's. I live across the street from the temple. in the BBT building. And I was carrying my plate home, and saw somebody drive by. They just drive by. People drive by. You wait for traffic. So I come and I'm home, and then somebody knocks on my door, and he said, I've been having some Indian boy I never saw before. He's an Indian personality. And he was very humble, very respectful. And he said, I saw you walking across the street, and I made a point in my mind that when I come to the temple, I'm going to approach the first devotee that I see. And I'm going to ask him to come to bless my home. I mean, I was taken aback, and I was like, I wonder if this guy was for real. But then he said, yeah. So we went to his house, and he was having some troubles and things. And I said, just take this. I'll bring this Bhagavad Gita to bless your home. So I said, we're going to sit down, we're going to read the Bhagavad Gita. We chanted there and did some things. We talked to him. And I said, why don't you just sit down here and you take this Gita and you really think about Krishna, you pray to Krishna, and you just open it anywhere, just open it anywhere and start to read. So he did that. He took the book very, very respectfully and he put it to his head, and then he opened it. And then I said, okay, let me read it. And so he immediately glanced on it. I didn't know this, but he can actually read Sanskrit. And he chanted the verse, and he goes, wow, let me see that verse. And that verse actually had his name in it. His name was Prashant. Let me see, Prashant. What's his name? Prashant. Yeah, Prashant. And it's a whole verse. The Prashant. I can't remember the verse exactly now. It's been a while. But the verse was perfect. It related to exactly what he needed to hear. It's amazing. So anyway, just to bring the point that wherever you start, it's nectar. I mean, if we're going to put a thorough study of it, then we're going to start together. You become a student of Bhagavad Gita. Then you just, you start from the beginning, like the Bhagavatam. But if you're giving a person a book for the first time, just let them have it. Let them start where they want. Maybe Krishna wants them to open a particular page that's just perfect for them to hear. And gradually they'll read the book. Many people, we give the books and they stay up all night and they read them. So anyway, that's just what I thought of when you mentioned that. I'm sure other devotees may have some other ideas or realizations about that.
Hare Krishna, this is Balabhadra Prabhu.
Hey, Bala. Jai.
Hey, Dhanavas, first of all, Gaudacandra. I enjoyed your class, by the way. With regards to Narahari's question about feeling, why do I tell this person how to read Bhagavad Gita? I felt in my own personal efforts whenever I distribute Bhagavad Gita, a lot of times what I'll tell people is to first read the verses by themselves, because the Bhagavad Gita is a conversation, and it is within the verses, the enumerated verses, that we hear the conversation. And then to go back to the beginning of the chapter and read it along with the commentary. And in this way, it will be very, very easy to actually hear the Bhagavad Gita and understand what you're hearing. That's been my technique when it comes to book distribution, when it comes to distributing Bhagavad Gitas per se, because it can be a complicated book to understand. But for some people, if they don't have a technique, if they want to read the whole thing. And one time I read, when I was living in Canada, and I was doing the Christmas marathon, and I stopped one lady, and she said that she had a Bhagavad Gita once before, and it wasn't even Prabhupada's translation, but she said that I tried reading and I couldn't understand a thing. So I said, well, here, just open up this book to any place and pick a verse, any verse that you want, and read it out loud for the both of us to hear. And so she did that, and then I asked her, so did that make sense to you? Could you understand the sentence at least? Did it make sense to you? And she said, yes, it did. So then I explained to her, so now read the whole Bhagavad Gita just like that. Just read the verse, each chapter, just the verses, and then go back to the beginning of each chapter and read it along with the commentary. And in that way, it'll be very, very easy to follow. Mm-hmm. That's a lot what I tell people.
Jai. That's cool.
That's nice, Prabhu. Thank you. That's helpful. I've been telling people to I think I told this story once. Goat, I think you were on board when a couple had arrived real early in the morning, just like they did today at 4 a.m. for hair and makeup, and I'll get them situated in the makeup studio, and then I'll go off and chant my rounds. And anyway, on this particular morning, I usually wait till after the wedding is over, and I try to sort of soften the ground a little bit before I give them Bhagavad Gita or one of Prabhupada's books. But the groom particularly I was just having some conversation with him about spirituality. He was really interested. So I said, you know what, I'm going to give you a copy of Bhagavad Gita. I'm going to give it to you right now. And I got it for him. And then I left and went out. And I came back an hour and a half or so later, 2 hours later. And as soon as I walked into the makeup studio, he was reading Bhagavad Gita. And he says, I got to show you this. I got to show you this. And he was reading in the preface. He showed me just some amazing statement that Prabhupada made in the preface. He was so excited he couldn't wait to just dive deeper and deeper into the Bhagavad Gita. So ever since then, I've always told people, now be sure, very carefully, read the preface and read the introduction. So what you said is true. You mentioned the introduction. Even the preface is just really powerful. I went back and read it. It's really powerful. It's a great introduction. But Goda, could you tell us more about, you mentioned that you have an introduction to the Bhagavad Gita. I've never heard of that book. Could you tell us about that?
Yes, it's just a little book, and all it is the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita. It was very popular for a while, but we ran out, and unfortunately we don't have it available right now. I think it's very low stock.
You're saying it's not an introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, it is the introduction.
Yes, it's just a separate book of the introduction in the Bhagavad Gita.
I see.
Yeah, so
but there's no like primer, like Cliff's Notes or something that anybody ever did to prepare people to read Bhagavad Gita.
Let me see if I have one here. I think I have one. Let me see somewhere.
Actually, I used to have that book and I used to distribute it. That's really wonderful. They just took the introduction and made a separate little booklet out of it. It is really, really ideal for distribution.
It'd be nice if somebody did something kind of like, in book form, what Goda just did, where in 45 minutes, Goda took us through the entire Bhagavad Gita. It'd be nice if that was like a picture book. Of course, Mother Vishaka did something like that. She has this pictorial book of Bhagavad Gita. But it was really powerful what Goda did. He just took us through the whole Bhagavad Gita, and really from beginning to end, with lots of pictures which speak 1,000 words right there. Gosh, something like that would be just something simple with nice color pictures and simple descriptions like Goda did. And then I feel people were really ready to go in and read the Bhagavad Gita. I was really inspired by your presentation, Goda. That was amazing.
That's very, you have a Mac, right? Narahari?
Sorry, I muted myself. Yes, I have a Mac.
Yeah, so just you get the free program. It's called Keynote, and just play with it, and you'll figure out. That's what I used.
Yeah, but besides Keynote, you seem to have access to like an unlimited supply of wonderful, paintings and illustrations, which we don't have. You have to turn us on to your supply somehow.
Yeah, we have to see how we can share them. I mean, a lot of temples, we used to be the permissions department here also, but it's now in Alachua, part of Krishna.com, another branch of the PBT. But you just get permission to use particular images that you want, and they just grant them to you. They usually don't charge devotees, but they like to know so that they could keep the copyrights, of the images and things, and certain restrictions, like that. Just put, used by permission from BBT, things like that.
Got it.
But yeah, I mean, all that's available. I mean, this stuff is available. You're just going through the right procedure to get it.
Where are these images?
They're on Krishna.com. They do have image sites where they're low quality, but you could see them on their site and get them, or you could get them from, just get permission. Go to bbti.org and you just fill out a form and ask them, and they'll send it to them. Just tell them what you want, and they'll do that. They're in charge of that. We're not in charge of that anymore here, but it's Ranjit is in charge of that now. Ranjit?
Kali Yuga memory. I probably met him at some time. I certainly know the name, but I just can't honestly recall knowing him.
Yeah, many years worked for the archives, and now he's in, I think he's in Florida now. He does the BBT permissions now. Works for Krishna.com, which is, it's pretty much Krishna.com and BTG are pretty much the same thing, similar.
Ramananda Prabhu and I are working on a website, and there was one really beautiful picture, a real famous picture of Prabhupada that we wanted to use, and I found a really low resolution copy of it. Could I get in touch with you later, and maybe you could help me get that one image?
Yeah, sure. Just send that to me, and then we'll find it. I mean,
okay, I'll send that to you this morning or sometime today. I'll just make a real resolution copy. You'll definitely know the picture. Maybe you could help us get a higher quality image. Even a meg would be fine.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we could probably do that. They have scanned in all the high quality images of all the DVT art. There's about, between 1,000 and 2,000 images. But Prabhupada's photographs, there's like thousands and thousands and thousands.
Gaudacandra Prabhu, can you hear me?
Yes,
okay,
I can.
It's late and we need to stop. However, there are two devotees that are in line with questions. So these will have to strictly be, our last two questions. Although last time I said that we went on for another 45 minutes. But anyway.
I love it.
Good luck.
Okay.
Question number 1. For devotee just starting Krishna consciousness, fairly new, I'm just summarizing, how would they follow Gita Jayanti? How would it be done? Or it's in the chat if you want to just read it, but what's a good way to follow Gita Jayanti? And also, it's of course a Kadashi. If they're regularly following Nirjala Kadashi, is there anything else special to do?
Well, the main thing to do is to read the book and distribute it. That's the best thing you could do. Kadashi, just fast some grains and beans. That's it. It's very simple. We don't have to make elaborate things. If you're part of a temple, then they might do something to make it nice for the congregation and stuff. But contact temples if it was near you, see what they do, get ideas, get advice. You could contact the head priest here if you want to learn how to do the sacrifices and things. You always have help.
Here's another question. I'm not always clear on what the sacrifice is for this era. Many times newer devotees are told that distribution of books equals Harinam, Sankirtan. So how much sacrifice should we put into Harinam, chanting on the streets?
You have to do both. Prabhupada said, your disciples are distributing so many books here, Prabhupada, and he goes, are they reading my books? So Prabhupada wanted us to read and distribute the books. Both. He actually translated these. He said, I made these books for my disciples. So we read these books, we become enthused to distribute the books. Then when you distribute the books, that is the sacrifice of the age. That's like the Brihat Mridanga. The kirtan, the real kirtan of the Brihat Mridanga. Distributing these books through the printing press, as we see in this picture of Srila Prabhupada, that's the real Brihat Mridanga. The Mridanga you can only hear a few blocks away on Harinam, but these books, they travel the world. You give a book to a person at an airport or wherever, they take it home. Who knows where they live? There's so many amazing stories where people just live in such remote places that they, got a book and they became devotees. It's amazing.
Just for clarification, so what has more power, the holy name or books? I think what the real point they're trying to make is, does that minimize the importance of Harinam? I think that's what he's getting to.
Well, what's more powerful, the holy name or the books? The books are the holy name. They're the same. Why are you making a distinction? The book form, the sound form, even the visual forms we're seeing today. This is not different also. Krishna is absolute, so he's non-different from his name, from his everything. So the devotee begins to see how Krishna is everything. But Krishna is personally manifested in his name. All his power is there. And is also his manifested in his books. Srila Prabhupada said that Krishna is incarnated in his age in the form of his books. He's incarnated in the age of this, in the form of his ISKCON movement. So, that's the music of the music to stop. Jai, we could go on and on, but I hope everybody enjoyed this. It needs more refining on this particular, presentation. But I hope everyone's satisfied and got the point anyway. Thank you very much for your kind attention. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Gauda, that was wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Could I just
We have
please? Could I
one
just
last
get his name?
comment. What was that?
Okay.
I was just trying to get his Facebook name so that I can see it.
Oh, okay. It's Gaudacandra Das. Gaudacandra Das Adhikari. Where is it? What do I do with it here?
Facebook, you just put in Gaudacandra Das?
Yeah, Gaudacandra Das. What did I do with it? I must have lost it here somewhere.
She can't see it anyway because she's on
Oh, okay. I'm trying
Gauda, is your email still Gauda@mac.com?
Yes.
Okay, I just sent you that picture.
Okay, great. I'll check it out. I'll get back to you. Jai. All right, Jai. Thank you so much, Prabhus. This is awesome.
Thank you, Gauraji.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great. I'm inspired. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Jai, all glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Haribo.
Haribo.
Haribo. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Let me see if I can.